Welcome to Admission Straight Talk, the podcast dedicated to graduate admissions and helping you approach the application process thoughtfully and successfully. Your host is Accepted's founder and world-renowned admissions guru, Linda Abraham. At Accepted, our mission is to get you to that unforgettable moment when you read your acceptance email and shout, "Yes, I'm in!" Confident you'll be attending the perfect program to help you launch the career of your dreams.
Welcome to the 606th episode of Admission Straight Talk. Thanks for joining me. Are you not sure how to proceed as you apply to graduate school? Maybe you're not sure if your experience is competitive. Maybe your undergraduate record or test score is causing you concern. Perhaps you're not sure where to apply. And almost certainly, you're not sure how to most effectively and compellingly present your qualifications. I have a suggestion for you. Try out Accepted's outstanding admissions consulting for free. Have a sample. You can have a free 30-minute consultation with one of our experienced consultants. Just go to accepted.com and sign up for that free consultation. Our guest today is me. I am Linda Abraham, the founder of Accepted, which I started over 30 years ago. I have worked as an admissions consultant since 1994. I put up the first accepted.com, a rather basic version, in 1996, co-founded the Association of International Graduate Admissions Consultants around 2007, and served as its first president. I launched Admission Straight Talk in 2012, and have interviewed several hundred admissions directors and deans since then, and perhaps an additional couple hundred when hosting our text-only chats in the early 2000s. And today is the last podcast episode that I will host for Admission Straight Talk because I am retiring in a few days. It is the end of June now, and I am retiring on June 30th. And although this show will air in July. Consequently, I want to share more general thoughts on the admissions process and maybe even on life, kind of like a last lecture, although thank God I, unlike Dr. Randy Pausch, who gave a famous last lecture, well worth hearing, I'm fine. He was unfortunately gravely ill. I want to start by quoting Winston Churchill. I know some of you are going to be thinking, you've said you shouldn't quote from someone at the start of your essays, because admissions readers want to hear from you, not from Churchill, Lincoln, Kennedy, or even the Bible. Nonetheless, here goes. I'm going to quote from Churchill, who experienced a lot of both failure and success in his life. Quote, "Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." Now, I've spoken and worked with applicants who had suffered severe setbacks, hardships, and didn't let those experiences, those circumstances stop them at all. They were inspiring and an honor to work with, to know and work with, actually. I've spoken and occasionally worked with applicants who dwelt on the unfairness of life, the admissions process, the world, and felt justified and perhaps even righteous in being stopped, not moving forward. Almost all, if not all people, experience trying times and difficulties, pain and loss at some point or other in their lives. The ability to overcome difficult, painful circumstances, and even those perceived as unfair, frequently define people more than the circumstances that they find themselves in. So your reaction to events is always in your control. You can focus on the future and build or rebuild when going through some difficult experience, or just continue building if experiencing success. Or you can dwell on the unfairness of it all and sink into bitterness, despair, and hopelessness. Obviously, I, and probably Churchill, recommend the former. I also want to talk a minute about stress and imposter syndrome, which are terms that seem to come up a lot in the admissions landscape. I'm definitely not a stress junkie. I'm rather cautious, actually, or a risk seeker. I'm not a risk seeker. However, stress is a fact of life. It is particularly present in the lives of people striving to achieve something. If you want to be a contributor, a leader, a person of consequence, you will have more stress than if you kind of coast through life, taking the easy path. Most people applying to graduate school are in the former group. They want to be people of consequence. So if you're in that group, learn how to handle stress. You can't just avoid it. And you can do that through self-talk, exercise, deep breathing, meditation, listening to music, exercise. Again, there's many different ways. Going for a walk, whatever works for you, but learn how to do it. And before I turn to admissions specifically, One last piece of general advice, and that's on imposter syndrome or the imposter phenomenon. That much talked about feeling or fear that you will be exposed as a fraud because you're not really competent enough to be doing what you're doing. If you have that fear or feeling, congratulations. That's my response. You are striving to improve yourself or something, and others have confidence that you can do it based on your past performance, or perhaps you're trying something just for yourself, maybe an Ironman marathon or a new invention. So acknowledge the feeling and embrace it, celebrate it, plan to achieve your goal, because a goal without a plan is a wish. I'm proud of you from afar, even though we've never met. That imposter syndrome is actually, I think, a very healthy reaction, and it should spur you, again, to plan for your own success. You're growing. Okay, enough life advice, enough pontificating from me on things that you may or may not be interested in. Let's turn to graduate admissions. A graduate degree is a means to an end. You have to know what that end is, and that end is your goal. For MBA, you're going to be looking to describe your goal in terms of function and industry, sometimes location. For healthcare, it will be a specific function within the healthcare industry, whether it's PA, nurse, physician, physical therapist, whatever, it's a function. And there may be even some specialization within that function, depending upon where you're at in your healthcare journey. JD, some direction within the law, again, based on experience. Other graduate programs, what do you want to do after you get the degree, and why do you want to get it at this particular program? How is it going to help you achieve your goals? Or purpose. That's why you have to write a statement of purpose for many, many graduate programs. Almost all graduate programs want to know, either in the essay or the interview, how you intend to use the education they're going to provide and why you want to get it at that particular program. So, unless you aren't asked that question in the essay and don't have an interview, make sure you know the answers to those questions. The graduate degree is a degree that becomes a bridge between where you've been and where you want to go. So we discussed where you want to go just a second ago. Let's discuss where you've been. And that consists of your academic record, your professional and non-professional experience, character traits, achievements, sometimes your mistakes, and the grit, determination, and resilience you have shown in overcoming challenges. These all play a role in your application. Some of you will find that your academic, professional, and extracurricular record have prepared you well to apply to graduate school and pursue your chosen path. Maybe you planned that way, and that's great. Some of you will realize that your record to date is not optimal given your goals and your first choice schools. You then have 3 options. Number 1, change your goals. Maybe you thought of becoming an MD, a surgeon, and you realize that it's not likely to happen. So consider becoming a PA or a DO instead. That's just one example. Change the schools you're aiming for. You are not all going to get into Harvard or its close cousins. However, you could gain admission with your current qualifications to an excellent program that supports your goals, but doesn't have quite the brand that the Ivy League and the top X have. It probably doesn't have quite as demanding a class profile either. Still, that education and degree will get you where you want to go and might be an excellent choice for you. The third option is to improve your qualifications so that you will be a competitive candidate to the top schools that you're considering. These are all legitimate options, and I'm a big believer in practicing the art of the possible. Choose the option that best suits your needs and resources, both financial and time. Number 1 and number 2, changing the goal or changing the schools you're aiming for, are particularly appropriate if you are performing at your best as an undergrad and when taking standardized tests and didn't have circumstances beyond your control hampering you. However, I'm going to focus now on those choosing option number 3, which is to improve your qualifications. If you really want to do something, whether it's becoming a physician, a management consultant, or an attorney specializing in mergers and acquisitions on Wall Street, and you realize you need to improve your qualifications to gain admission to the programs that will prepare you for your dream future, don't give up because you made a foolish decision 3, 5, or 10 years ago or had unexpected difficulties. Maybe you didn't take school seriously as an undergrad, or only in the last year of undergraduate school. Maybe you struggle with standardized tests, or maybe you don't have the experience the admissions committee typically looks for, or perhaps life, in the form of health, family, financial problems, or circumstances beyond your control, prevented you from performing at your best. Again, I'm going to quote Churchill, "Success is the ability to go from failure to failure without losing your enthusiasm." I don't recommend that route, but if you've had some failures, mistakes, challenges, and you think you can perform at a much higher level, go for it. In all of the above cases, don't let your past define you. You have the gift of change. Your life is not predetermined. Use that gift. And schools are generally very open to reinvention, particularly when, in addition to showing you can do the work, you demonstrate resilience, maturity, and grit. If your academic performance is not competitive at your target schools, you will need to show them that today you can perform and do the work that their program demands. A competitive test score is part of that reinvention. You should prepare for the test and only take it when practice exams show you earning a competitive score. If self-study doesn't earn you that score, then consider a course or even hiring a tutor. I'm going to add here also that if you are applying to a program that does not require a test score, but your grades or your academic performance are below average, and you think you can do well on the test, either with minimal prep or after significant prep, take the test. At least, again, take some practice test and see if you really can perform. If your grades are below average, then you need to take relevant coursework and earn A's in those courses. How many will depend on how far below average your grades are. And be smart. If you had poor study habits, work first to improve those habits so that you can earn those A's. You can't afford mediocre grades now. And also, don't overload yourself. Again, the art of the possible. If you're working full-time, don't try and take 4 university-level classes. Take 1, maybe 2, depending upon your workload. If you don't have the experience that schools like to see, well, get it. Usually experience that shows you know what you're getting into and have an affinity for it. For healthcare, that will mean volunteering or working in a clinical setting, and perhaps shadowing those performing the function you are interested in. For business school, it will be full-time work experience that allows you to develop and demonstrate the skills, the qualities that business schools want to see, including leadership, teamwork, organizational skills, communication skills, vision, and the ability to motivate others. For lawyers, you'll need to demonstrate strong writing and research ability, and other graduate programs usually have experiential wants, if not requirements. For example, research-oriented programs will want to see that you have done relevant research. Again, if you don't have that experience, get it either on a paid or volunteer basis. Life, may have handed you a few curveballs, or you may have created a few curveballs for yourself in this form of mistakes. Assuming the circumstances that threw you those curveballs no longer exist, or that you have learned how to deal with them, show the programs you can handle their curriculum. Improve to make yourself a qualified, competitive candidate for those dream schools if you choose option number 3. If you're writing about some challenge that you faced and overcame, focus on how you've been strengthened as a result of the difficulty. Briefly describe the situation and the challenge you faced, and then go into more detail about your response and the effect of this challenging experience on you and maybe on others. I want to caution you against whining, blaming, and/or finger-pointing. You want the reader to be impressed by your response, your resilience, and your fortitude, not feel pity towards you because you come across as weak or bitter or somehow damaged goods. 2 of the most impressive podcast guests I ever interviewed overcame enormous obstacles to achieve incredible academic and professional success. Check out accepted.com/136 and accepted.com/311 for the stories of Dr. Antonio Webb and HBS grad Ida Valentine, respectively. I also want to talk to you for a minute about the free and paid resources at Accepted. Ever since I put up Accepted's first website in July 1996, and no, you don't really want to go see it, I've taken pride in the assistance Accepted has given via its free resources, starting simply with articles on this rather rudimentary website, and then with the evolution of the web, we added text-only chats, a blog, social media, webinars, mostly during COVID, and of course, this podcast. I'm very proud of the thousands we helped who only used the free resources at Accepted. And I delighted in emails I received that said something along these lines, quote, I used accepted.com but couldn't afford your services and still got into my dream school because of the resources available on accepted.com. Thank you. While I'm happy for these applicants and really appreciated those emails, probably more than the cynics among you would believe, there is a strong financial argument for investing in admissions consulting if you or your family can afford it, and maybe even if you need to borrow from relatives to get it. Going back to my earlier point, graduate school is a means to an end. It's a bridge. And for most of you, that end has a financial benefit. You will make more money throughout your life, your professional life, with a graduate degree than without it. In some cases, you'll make substantially more with it. Furthermore, sometimes, many times, you will have more opportunities and probably a higher income if you're accepted to certain programs over other less top programs, less highly ranked programs. That increased anticipated income usually justifies, on a financial basis, the expense of receiving personalized guidance geared to your situation and needs from one of Accepted's outstanding and supportive admissions consultants. You see, the free resources are of necessity general, just like this episode. They can't provide advice on the specific steps that you as an individual can and should take to improve your qualifications, select the right program, and effectively present those qualifications while showing fit with the programs that you would love to attend. As I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, you can also sample the service with a free half-hour consultation, get advice on the best service for you given where you're at and your budget, and then decide if it's for you. We're talking about your professional future and having an experienced professional guiding you through a difficult process that you only want to get to go through once or once more if you are a reapplicant. To explore the service and sign up for that consultation, just go to www.accepted.com. Speaking of being a bridge to the future, this episode is also a bridge to the future. While I am retiring, Admission Straight Talk is not retiring. It will only get better and better. And at this point, I want to thank you, and even the former listeners who are not listening anymore because they're in graduate school and probably pursuing their dream careers. At this point, I want to thank you, Accepted's listeners, and also all the guests we've had since 2012 when I started this podcast for being part of the journey to date. I want to wish you, Admission Straight Talk listeners, much success in the application process, graduate school, and beyond. This is Admission Straight Talk produced by Accepted. Stay tuned.